Today in the court, prosecutors described a man who didn't just dominate the music industry, but controlled people through fear, money, and manipulation. And now, in the wake of this trial, something's starting to click. Prince tried to warn us. He wasn't just talking about music rights or shady contracts. His message went deeper, darker. And now, as the layers of Diddy's world are being pulled back, Prince's warnings suddenly feel prophetic. He once said, "The companies felt otherwise. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist." That quote hits differently now. These labels, these gatekeepers, they've built their power on systems that thrive in the shadows. And maybe the truth coming out now means their time is almost up, because Prince wasn't just fighting for his masters or calling out unfair contracts. Toward the end of his life, he started naming names. Real people, real power. And yes, one of those names, according to those close to him, was Sean Diddy Combs. It wasn't Diddy's fame or money that had Prince on edge. It was the company he kept, the alliances he was forming, the way those partnerships were reshaping the entire industry, often in ways we weren't meant to see. By 2015, Diddy was getting cozy with Warner Music Group, the same company Prince spent years battling. This wasn't just business, it felt personal. Warner once held the rights to nearly everything Prince ever created. He fought like hell to get those rights back. And just as he was making progress, here comes Diddy forming tight bonds with the very people Prince believed were part of something much bigger and much darker. And while most looked the other way, one person was paying attention. Comedian Cat Williams. He saw something in Prince's relentless warnings, something more than artistic frustration. "I couldn't understand what kept driving him. It just seemed like he was never happy," he said. Maybe that's because Prince knew too much about the industry, about the people in power, about how deep this all goes. And now, as Diddy's empire starts to crumble, we're left wondering what else was Prince trying to tell us before it was too late. For years, they denied Prince control over what was rightfully his name, his image, his life's work. That's why he started writing the word slave on his face. That's why he abandoned his birth name and became a symbol. It wasn't a stunt. It was resistance. He was done playing by their rules. So imagine how it must have felt when he saw Sean Diddy Combs, another black artist quietly shaking hands with the same corporate powers Prince had been fighting his whole life. To Prince, this wasn't just a betrayal. It felt dangerous. According to those close to him, Prince didn't just believe Diddy was making deals. He believed Diddy was helping to build a new version of the same system, one even more sinister. A system that didn't just exploit music, it controlled people. Through wealth, through secrets, and without any real consequences. Prince once said, "There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address." And it's hard not to wonder. Was he talking about the industry or something deeper? That's where Cat Williams enters the story. Over the years, Cat has done more than just comedy. He's spoken boldly, even fearlessly, about the underbelly of the entertainment world. In multiple interviews, he revealed that Prince had warned him directly about Diddy. Cat didn't say it was just gossip. According to him, Prince had the evidence, footage, names, incidents that, if exposed, could ruin careers and bring entire empires crashing down. Cat never claimed to have seen this, supposed evidence himself, but the way he spoke about it wasn't a joke. It felt serious. He said Prince didn't trust many people near the end of his life, that he recorded his own events, not for memories, but for protection. He wanted to know who was showing up, who was trying to manipulate his guests, who might be working behind the scenes. That leads us to a disturbing theory, one that's been whispered about by artists like Jaguar Wright, Dave Chappelle, and Cat himself. There's a belief that some elite events in the industry aren't just parties, they're setups. Artists are allegedly lured in, compromised, filmed, then blackmailed into silence or loyalty. And while many dismissed it as conspiracy, Prince may have had more than rumors. He may have had proof. Not long before his death, Prince was reportedly approached with business offers. One of them allegedly from Roc Nation, asking for full streaming rights to his unreleased music vault. He declined, firmly, and then just months later, he was found, unresponsive in an elevator at Paisley Park. The official cause? A fentanyl overdose, but the story left many unsettled. In his final years, Prince wasn't careless. He tightened security. He shrank his inner circle. He took care of his health, his space, and his art. That's what made his sudden death feel off. As one close friend put it, "It really shook me. How could someone so careful, so disciplined, just be gone like that?" It wasn't just his physical safety he was protecting. Prince was guarding something bigger, something he feared might never see the light. And now, with Diddy's empire under the microscope, maybe the truth is finally knocking. In the final weeks of his life, Prince wasn't just creating music or performing, he was deeply troubled. He began having serious conversations with a tight circle of trusted people, sharing his fears about the darker corners of the music industry. He spoke openly about the dangers of going up against certain powerful figures, people who didn't just control music, but seemed to control the very people in it. What really worried him were the secretive invite-only parties, the kind young artists felt obligated to attend if they wanted to climb the ladder. According to Prince, these weren't just networking events, they were traps, and they left him with major concerns. So naturally, it makes you wonder, what made Prince suddenly tighten his security like never before? What exactly did he know that left him so on edge? And what did he mean in those cryptic last warnings? About his safety, one person who says he knows more than most is comedian Cat Williams. Over the years, Cat's claimed that he's been holding onto sensitive material things Prince told him and gave him. We're talking about recordings, contracts, and private conversations. According to Cat, Prince didn't just trust him, he chose him to carry part of this burden. In a 2022 interview with Arsenio Hall, Cat opened up about his deep connection to Prince. He said their bond started way back when Cat was just 12 years old. They met in Dayton, Ohio during one of Prince's shows. That meeting, Cat says, changed his life. Before comedy, Cat was actually a rapper, and it was Prince who encouraged him to embrace his individuality. Prince taught him that being different was powerful, that you could be short, light-skinned, and flashy, and still command the room as long as you knew who you were. He was a high thinker, always 30 steps ahead. Cat said, that line has become a focal point for fans who believe Prince knew something big, something dangerous. And maybe he let Cat in on it. Prince had a reputation for being cryptic, speaking in symbols and double meanings. But behind the mystery, it's said he held actual proof, records of who attended those private gatherings, what went on behind closed doors, and how some of the industry's biggest names operated in the shadows. It turns out Prince's fears weren't so far-fetched. In the years following his death, federal investigations began looking into allegations of sex trafficking and organized racketeering tied to certain industry elites and events. It's a chilling parallel to the kind of thing Prince had been warning about. Prince was especially focused on Diddy, someone he saw not as a fellow artist, but as a businessman helping to expand the very machine he'd fought so hard to escape. Their relationship grew tense. Prince believed Diddy's private parties and business tactics were part of something much bigger and much more dangerous. So when Diddy released a public statement calling himself heartbroken over Prince's death, it didn't sit well with people like Cat Williams. He called out the hypocrisy, pointing out that Diddy's moves had consistently gone against everything Prince stood for. In the end, the tension between Prince and Diddy wasn't just personal, it represented a larger battle. A clash between creative freedom and corporate dominance. And Prince, ever the rebel, chose his side right until the very end. Prince had always been more than just a musician, he was a visionary. And in his final years, that vision was laser-focused on exposing the darkest parts of the entertainment industry. One of his biggest concerns? The private parties hosted by the industry's elite, especially those tied to Diddy that often put young, up-and-coming artists in extremely vulnerable situations. These weren't harmless social events. Behind the velvet ropes and flashing lights, Prince saw manipulation, coercion, and exploitation of young talent being drawn into situations they couldn't easily escape from. "We need to talk about what this is doing to our culture," he once said, and he meant it. So while others were hosting parties that blurred the line between celebration and control, Prince was building something different, something safe. He launched his own invite-only gatherings called 3121. These events weren't about fame or power plays, they were about connection, creativity, and true artistic freedom. Inside those 3121 parties, artists could breathe. They could collaborate, share ideas, and grow without being preyed upon. There were no hidden agendas, just mutual respect and the space to be themselves. It was everything the rest of the industry wasn't. Meanwhile, the so-called freak-off parties, especially those allegedly tied to Diddy, painted a very different picture. Attendees at these events, many of them young and eager to make it, often felt pressured into uncomfortable, even dangerous, situations involving drugs, sex, and manipulation. Recent federal indictments have begun confirming what many feared, including claims of violence, coercion, and secret footage used to control victims. People now say, "We didn't know then, but we do now." Prince, however, always knew. That's why he created an alternative. With 3121, he didn't just offer artists a refuge. He threw a wrench into the machinery of exploitation, and that made him a threat. Comedian Cat Williams later revealed that Prince's push to create these safe spaces put him in the crosshairs of powerful people. Prince was challenging their control by giving artists independence, and more importantly, a choice. As more stories from 3121 parties came to light, so did the contrast between the two sides of the industry. Prince wasn't just protecting people, he was building something better. And with his influence, intelligence, and fearless independence, he became a danger to those who thrived off secrecy. He tried to warn others. He spoke out in coded messages, in lyrics, and in quiet conversations. Behind closed doors, he told the truth as much as he could, but many weren't ready to listen. Now, with Diddy facing serious federal charges of coercion, threats, and using footage to blackmail others, Prince's warnings hit different. They don't sound paranoid anymore. They sound prophetic, because this story isn't just about Prince. It's about two sides of an industry, one built on fear, silence, and exploitation. The other, Prince's side, which built on freedom, ownership, and truth. When Prince fought to own his name, his music, and even his parties, he drew a line in the sand. He lost friends, he isolated himself, but he never backed down. The counterfeit pills, the missing tapes, the rushed investigation, and the sealed file. It all starts to make sense when you look at the bigger picture. Prince's fight wasn't just personal, it was a warning. And now, as the layers of deception begin to peel away, the world is finally seeing what he saw. Prince wasn't paranoid, he was prepared. And the message he left behind? It's finally being heard.